Hello, we are the Salon Sleuths. My name is Melissa,
And my name is Leslie.
and we are two women from the Pacific Northwest. We are both curious about paranormals, spirit guides, ghosts, past lives.
We are suspicious about true crime, disappearances, and strange phenomenons. We are open to learning about the supernatural and all things we don't understand.
Together, we're opinionated with a splash of smartass. Join us to learn. And stay curious, stay suspicious, and stay open.
Follow Salon Sleuths on all major podcast platforms.
Well, hello, Salon Sleuth fans, and Leslie. How are you? I say this as you have something in your mouth. I really should have waited. Bad
I'm a
hope.
little snagged this morning or today, but that's fine. We're going to work through it.
Well, Leslie's day, you guys, on Mondays is she works from like 5 a.m. until 7 p.m. And right now it's 8 p.m. and we're recording. So she works all day long. And then added thing is today was a Suzanne Jauchius day. I could not get away. I had a conflict for today. So she took the 2 hours off to record that and do that show. And then she forgot to record. So she's had an extra hard day. So we got to give lots of
I
good
recorded the end of it after
Okay.
I got off the phone. So I do have us talking about it. And one of the girls that did call in, she did record it. So I do have that one. It's just the what I asked and what my friend Danita asked is not on there, but we can talk about that. We did talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
So
But
Yeah.
you guys, you haven't heard us talk. And we want to say big shout out. This is season 3. We're starting a brand new year.
mhm.
And so we're really excited about that. But we didn't see you in December because we had a few issues here.
Did.
Yeah. You want to talk about that, Leslie?
Well, okay. I have lots of issues. What were your issues?
Well, I don't know what mine were. Just overall craziness getting ready for Christmas. I think, December's always really hard. I had something that I did want to talk to you about desperately in December, but I think between your schedule and my schedule, it didn't really work out. And then at the end of the month, Leslie's whole family got COVID.
We did. Santa brought it.
Yeah.
It was so nice of him.
Oh,
Wiped out our entire family, and then our cousins that were visiting also went back to Florida with their Santa present.
their own set of COVID.
I do want to tell you though, we could have been exposed 2 different places.
Okay.
One of them, my husband went up to the mountain with a neighbor who then, showed up as having COVID.
Yes.
So they went in the car together, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But then did I tell you that while they were up at the mountain incubating all of their COVIDness, we were here, the girls were here, and we went to Benihana's. Did I tell you that whole story?
Yes.
And the people that were with us?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking about this. Karma got them because they probably got it.
The Benihana's family? What do you mean?
Okay, so we all went to Benihana's.
Okay.
And because there was only 7 of us, there was room at the table for 2 other people.
Okay.
Do you know this part of the story I'm telling you?
No.
Oh my
You
God.
just told me that your daughter brought a friend, and the daughter then
Yes.
afterward, the friend was like, "Oh my God, you guys, I have COVID," and you were like, "Well, no
Oh.
big deal, we have it anyways."
Okay, so we might have actually got it that night because that was the 27th, and we didn't really have any symptoms until like the 29th, 30th.
Okay.
So we could have gotten it from her, but that's not the point. Doesn't really matter where we got it, but
No.
we did pick her up. And when she got in the car, we're like, should we wear masks? Should we not? Like, we're like, oh,
Yeah.
we're going to go to dinner. Let's just not wear them.
Yeah.
Whatever. We get to Benihana's, we get to our table, and because we have room, they set another couple at the table with us. And they're probably like mid-30s. What's that? Go ahead.
I said, "Really? They set somebody that you didn't know at your table?"
Yeah, if there's room, they do that, I guess.
Not during COVID.
Well, they did. Anyway.
What are you
The
doing?
girl-
Here's something in the background.
Oh, me?
What's that sound? Yeah. What was that sound?
It's my jacket.
Can you take that off?
Freezing in here.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Okay, so
Put a non-scratchy sounding jacket on.
sorry. So they are sitting actually next to the girl with COVID.
Okay.
At
So
this
they
time,
probably got it too.
okay, that's where I'm going. She obviously didn't know she had COVID till the next day, and she
Right.
didn't even have symptoms. And the
Okay.
only reason why she tested is because she went to a different person's house whose mom tested positive. So then they all went and got tested, and that's how they knew, even though she did not have any symptoms when we went. But this couple, they ordered all this food. Like we were trying to, April and I, who were the only two adults, like sitting there, we're checking out this other couple, right? We're like, is this a first date? No, they look a little too comfortable. We're trying to like piece them together.
Yeah.
We're like looking at him. She's kind of like, looks a little hard, like maybe had a little rough life. And then
Okay.
she's wearing like this turtleneck camo shirt. And then he's wearing like a sweatshirt, a nicer sweatshirt. He's got like a chain around his neck, and he's got like a goatee beard, but he had a tattoo on his ring finger of like a triangle.
Okay.
And the only reason why we're like, because afterwards we're doing like all this math, like trying to figure them out. So we ordered our regular food. Then they ordered like probably the most expensive. They got the lobster tail and the steak and the shrimp and
Wow.
all of this stuff. And that's why I was like, is this a first date? Is he trying to wine and dine her? Like going all out, for Christmas or whatever. And then they ordered like some fancy drinks, not beer, like really fancy, whatever, cocktails. And they quickly drank those. And then they go on to their second one. And by this time, they're like getting kind of lovey-dovey at the table. And we're just like, oh, like at first they were like trying to engage in talking. And then eventually we're just not talking to them anymore. Because at one time he wanted to like shake my hand when they were introducing themselves. And I kind of did the air shake from far away. Like, I'm not going to touch your hand.
Yeah.
And they were kind of talking to our friend who ended up being sick that we didn't know. And they're kind of small talk. And then they kind of just start going to each other. And then, so they're like drinking their second drinks. And by this time, we're actually eating dinner. The chef had left. She like pulled him aside and was like, thank you so much. That was so fun, as he's walking out, rolling his cart out. And then they go to order a third thing of drinks. And they're like, oh, you need to finish these before we can get you more. And then he's like, oh, okay. So then she comes over. She's like, okay, I'll order them now. And by that time, you should be done, whatever. So he gets a call and he gets up and he leaves the table to take the phone call. And she's just sitting there and she's not looking at us. Like she's like, it's like around us, like not looking at us. And at one time she like gets up and she like kind of walks towards the back of the restaurant. Like, I think she realized she was going the wrong way. So she goes back forward, like she's going to like the bathroom or to find him, but grabs her jacket and they left. They didn't pay their bill.
No.
Guess what? You got COVID. There's your karma.
Do you think they really?
Not that I would ever want that for anybody, but I felt like they kind of deserved it at that point. I don't want anybody super sick. I don't want anybody going to the hospital, but you kind of deserve that.
Do you think they really didn't pay their bill?
We know they didn't because the server came over and she's like, I knew it. And they go running outside. We go to the bathroom to see if they're under the stall. We're trying to find the girl. And they totally left. Their bill was probably at $200. I'm like, first of all, you're at a table with a bunch of kids. Like, this is what you're teaching them? Like,
yeah.
And then I'm like, you know what? You hear about this in like the movies or you joke about it when you were like 20, but you never actually did it.
Oh, that's horrible.
Like, honey, let's go out to dinner to Benihana's and let's just like take off.
That's horrible.
And it was that night where it was kind of snowy, So I was like, we're like, can we see their car tracks? Maybe we could follow them. Like, we're like, is that them in their car? But they would have been long gone before we ever got there.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Okay, so your sound is really weird. You didn't turn on some freakish sound, did you? It's like you have ghost sound or rah, rah, rah.
Is it weird right now? My fan of my computer keeps going on.
No, it's not a fan. It's like goes with your voice.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, it sounds better now, but it was just going with your voice.
Well, the fan turned off on my computer. I don't know. Sorry.
Sometimes if you turn off the other apps that are on, my computer does that too sometimes. That'll stop it from doing it. It's like got too much stuff running.
Yeah, mine always goes off. Like even in the middle of the night, it just turns on for no reason.
Oh wow. Huh. You may play that back and you might hear it. So just be prepared.
I'm gonna
I
try.
cannot believe those people. That's horrible.
Yeah, I can't either. I think it was terrible for the kids to see that people actually do that. And
Well, I was kind of gonna say, like, when you said they ordered all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, are they gonna dine and dash? I almost said that to you.
I could not. We were like shocked, and then of course we're like Googling, Oregon man with tattoo on his finger. We were like trying to. We were gonna find him that night, and we found nothing. And because we were Googling like dine and dash couples, like maybe there's a site that has like things like that in there. Or
did they call the police? Because that's like $200 probably worth.
They did. They said when we were leaving, they're like, we called the police, and they didn't ask us if like we knew anything. Like I think we got a name from them, but it could have been a fake name.
Yeah.
Does that sound
doing it again? No, it's doing it again.
Anyway, that's my
oh my god
drama. I mean, I had another good story that happened last night that I told you I did some sleuthing.
Yes. What happened exactly?
Well, I'm not going to give specific names only because
it
is from my area and I don't want anybody to like.
And they're minors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yesterday we've had like Lucy last Monday went to school.
Okay.
And it was her first Monday back after COVID.
Okay.
And they had to take an additional week off, and it had to be cleared by the school nurse in order to go back to school.
Okay.
So the nurse did all the math, and she's like, she's good to go. She actually could have gone the Friday before. I just kept her out to Monday. So she goes to school on Monday. And then actually this part has nothing to do with my story, but it goes to the point where I get a call from the school
on Wednesday too, because isn't that when I went in and got my nails done?
So she didn't. She took the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off. And the reason why is I picked her up on Monday and she said she wasn't feeling well. And I was like, okay. So I kept her home Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because I worked on Wednesday, I wouldn't be able to go pick her up. Right. So I just kept her home. Then Thursday, she still wasn't feeling great. All right, whatever, stay home. So Friday, she goes back to school and I get a phone call from her again and she's not feeling well. But weirdly enough, it was at the same time as the Monday call. Okay. So I'm like, what class are you in? And so she was in a specific class. And then it turns out she was having an issue with a boy in that class who has been under his breath saying very negative things towards her. So somewhat bullying her to where like she was so upset by it, it was actually causing like some anxiety.
Yeah.
And she has been riddled with anxiety this year. So I can't say that was specifically the whole reason. But I think he attributed it to it. And I don't think she put the two together that he was making her feel so bad. She's trying to avoid going to that class. Okay. So I emailed the teacher. I emailed him the text that she sent to me, basically telling me about this boy. And I'm like, this is why she's not going to class. She doesn't want to go to class because she doesn't want to run into this person. So I mentioned it to the teacher. The teacher then responds that he has witnessed this boy doing this, but he has addressed it each time. And he didn't realize it had gotten to the point where Lucy's avoiding the class. So he is going to take care of that. He wanted to circle in the counselor. And I said, that's fine, but Lucy wants nothing to do with that counselor or the boy. You just handle it because you're going to handle it rationally when I wouldn't.
Right.
But let me do it because I won't handle it wrong. So he said, that's fine. And then last night, Lucy comes up and she's really upset because she had just sent like a picture of just what she was wearing. No big deal. She looked cute to two people, a boy and a girl. Well, that boy immediately sent it to a bunch of people. Oh, and she was really upset by that. And I said, okay, well, at least you looked cute. She didn't agree with me. But I said, so in the future, like only send things that you don't mind if they go viral with your friends or whatever. Right. So lesson learned.
Good lesson, right? Yeah, it's a good lesson. Yeah. Right.
So there's also an Instagram account for that junior high.
Okay.
And it's a specific an account that would post things like a picture of a boy and a girl or two girls or two boys and matching them together. And when you can rate that couple. Or they would put. Wait,
who's put this up? The school hasn't put this up.
It is a kid in the school. So there was also it wasn't.
It's not the same bully kid though, right?
No, it's a different. bully kid. So this kid put up a picture of a girl, and it was on the story, not on the post. So it's a story, and it's just a picture. It doesn't have her, and it says, like pretty much like, rate this picture. Is she ugly AF? And like 63% of the people voted yes.
Wait, they put Lucy up on this,
No,
or
no,
a different
it was
girl?
a different girl.
Okay.
Okay. So, but Lucy's picture did go get up on that thing, on that web, on a post. And I don't know what it said. I didn't see it, but Ella then gets on, and she's DMing the person who's on a part of this account. And she's like, you need to remove that picture and delete this account immediately. And he's like, nope. And she's like, I'm not messing around. You need to delete this account. You need to take down that picture right away. And he wrote LOL. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Let's figure this out. So what we did was, I went to that account, and I hate even telling this out loud in case somebody hears it, but this is for parents. I went to that account, the bad junior high account.
Yeah.
And I did the username, and I did forget password. I'm not going to be able to log into his account, but it will give me a little bit of information. It will give me a little bit of an email or a little bit of a phone number. So I knew this person's phone number ended in these two numbers.
Okay.
So then I went to that account, and I figured out who that account follows and who's following that account. What two are similar? Because that account's not following very many people. So the first person I come to is this boy. So I go to his account, put in his username, forget password, and it matches the last two digits. So I said, Ella, this is this person's name. So then she goes on to the DM. Hey, so-and-so, just so you know, I've already screenshotted this whole account. And then she sends them a picture of his parents, their phone numbers, their address, his address. And he goes, dang, how'd you do that? And she says to him, it's not too hard to get your IP address.
Yeah.
Because we need him to think that we're like hackers, that we're really a lot better than we are.
Okay, but you are going to tell the school, right?
Oh no, so wait a minute.
Okay, you're stressing me out here. Like,
so she tells him, and he's like, kind of like, oh my God. So he did delete everything off that account, but we already screenshotted the account.
Okay.
And then and he changed the name. Okay, that's fine. But we freaked him out a little bit, because now he thinks we're like these nice super sleuthers, right? Like we kind of are, in a sense, where that was pretty easy. It was the first person to pick up on.
And also you're like, okay, fight fire with fire here.
Well, and
want to be a big
dang, Mom, you're good. Like,
yeah.
Wow, that was quick. But in the meantime, I did email the principal of the school, and I just said, hey, my daughter has been riddled with anxiety this year. Not only was there an issue with the school counselor, then there was an issue in the math class, which the math teacher was aware of and didn't handle it accordingly to the zero bullying, like
policy that you have,
policy that we have at the school. It got to the point where she was avoiding class. I go, and that's not really why my conversation is like, so there was this other thing that had happened. And this is, I go, this is a picture of a girl that goes to your school. I go, you might want to check in on her, because if she's anything like my daughter, she's probably devastated. First of all, you need to check in on her. And then, this bully is the one that was in charge of this account, gave them their name, the parents' name, and all of that stuff too. Like, you need to handle this. I go, because a lot of kids are suffering right now, and it should not be because of bullying.
Yeah.
Right. That's the last thing. There's a lot of other things going on right now. So
is he not great, is he?
He's an 8th grader.
So this is at the junior high.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh
so we just caught a junior high bully. I felt pretty proud of myself.
So what did the principal say?
So this was Monday. It's Martin Luther King Day. There's no school today.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
So I sent it late last night.
Okay.
I included all the pictures of the account and the boys' account. And if he needs to contact me on how I figured that out, I'd be happy to share that with them. Yeah. Ella also has the text between the two of them, which he didn't share with me, because I'm sure some of the wording wasn't very nice. I think she probably ended up turning around and was very not kind to him.
You got to fight fire with fire sometimes.
Well,
sometimes, unfortunately, it's the bigger bully, right? And those of us who have been bullied know that sometimes we become a bully because we've been bullied. And so we're like, well, fuck that. You either do one of two things, right? You go, or you go, well, fuck you. I'm going to, bully you right back. Right.
Well, I don't think he realized what it was doing to other kids. Like he's just having fun, thinking it's funny.
Yes.
But those other kids on the other end are like upset by it.
This is everywhere. This is, 13 Reasons. These are all these shows these kids are watching. These kids know this by now. Yeah. They have grown up with the internet. They've grown up with social media. They are fully aware. This kid needs a little of attention in some direction as to what is appropriate behavior. So well done, Salon Sleuth Mom. I applaud you because, there's nothing like that to bring out the mama bear in me either. So
yeah, that's funny because look at what Michelle Werther gave me.
Mama bear. I love it. Oh my gosh. I love it. Well,
I just want my kids to know that I support them and I will fight for them, especially if, because we're right fighters, right?
Yeah.
We're going to make what's right. And I just feel like that I'm like, I don't care. So like Michael, he's part of the snowboard. He's a snowboard coach, right?
Yes.
And so he's like good cop, I'm bad cop. Like I enforce the rules. So like there was a few rules that were kind of broken at the last practice. Nothing like super major, but things that could have been bad. Like we don't ride alone. You never take the chairlift by yourself and you never go down the mountain by yourself.
Right.
And that reason is if you fall or get hurt, somebody's there to help you through that.
Yeah.
So you always ride in 3 or more. And there was one student that just was kind of riding by himself. Well, that's not okay. So I said, okay, I'm going to get on the bus and then I will make these announcements. I'll make all the announcements, including there's no drugs allowed in or around our bus or our team. And because Ella was in the restroom and a student had come up and there's all these different names now. Like we have like a few names that we probably had in high school. Now there's all these different names. You have Jewel, you have Dap, you've got, and you've got like all these things. And the girl says to the other girl Ella was with, like, hey, do you want to go blah, blah, blah in the bathroom? And Ella's like, dude, my dad's the coach. Like she didn't say that, but she's thinking like, why would you say that? So there's some activity. And I don't know if these are like, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Jewel, what I have learned, I think, is that first of all, even cigarettes is not allowed on a school sponsored event. So they're
not old enough to have that anyway.
Yeah, but they have them. The Juuls, that's what the Juuls are, I think, are just nicotine, flavored nicotine. I think you can use the Juuls without the nicotine, is my understanding. Don't quote me on any of this.
What's the point?
Well, they're
like, get like a pot Juul?
It's like bubblegum flavor, raspberry flavor, whatever. But most of them have nicotine. That's the whole purpose, is to have the nicotine. But they're clearly advertised and made for children. And then the other thing is they can adapt them to put marijuana in, I guess. But that's what those kids were dying of because they were taking them and converting them. So I think, don't quote me on that part of it, but I think they could be more marijuana in that, but they would have to convert. So it's probably just nicotine, but that's still not, okay on a school sponsored event. And
right. So I do have to make the announcement. None of this is allowed. And that if you are
no sex on the bus, because that's the other thing that goes on.
Oh, I don't think, not on our school bus. I don't think there's no room and everyone's wearing snow gear.
I
don't know. I mean, I would be surprised, but
it happens. Yeah. It happens.
So I basically have to say, if you'll get caught, you'll get thrown off the team. Your parents will not get reimbursed. The school will then be notified. And
right.
And like we don't allow you to ride in trees. There's tree wells. If you fall in a tree well, we will not find you till spring.
Right.
So when we say no riding in the trees, we mean no riding in trees. And you need to listen to your coach. So I have to be the bad cop, which I don't care. Like I don't.
Right.
Whatever. Like I'm not looking to be best friends with a bunch of kids.
Well, my question is, the kid who's riding by himself, is it because nobody's kind of being his friend?
Okay, so that was another thing. I said, if you see somebody ride them by themselves, you include them in your group. They are not allowed to ride by yourself.
Yeah.
And so that will be the announcement, is like, that just has to happen.
Yeah.
If you're pairing up and you see somebody, you need to just get them with you.
Yeah.
I don't care if you like them, know them. It doesn't matter to me. You have to.
And unfortunately, sometimes it takes the coach to say somebody that will do that. Like, hey, Ella, would you please include him in your group?
Right.
Because you have to know that they're not teasing him, they're not sliding him and kind of, leaving him out or whatever. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to
Well,
be that cop on Thursday.
so the story that happened in December to me that I was all hopped up to tell you,
Yeah.
didn't end up recording, and it's been now a month since
What
it
is
happened.
it?
I'm going to tell you because
Okay.
it's very similar to yours.
Okay.
It's the right fighter in me. So you will not be surprised about this. So we have a tradition in our family, and it's kind of, it's more like two family friends, and our families have done this for over 25 years. So we started this before children. We would get together, and it first started out that it was tree hunting, but in between not tree lots, we go out here and we go to tree farms. So in between tree farms, we would go to a winery and we'd taste wine. So we would go tree farm, winery, tree farm, winery. Well, eventually it got down to, look, everybody, let's pick a tree farm where everybody likes. Let's all get our trees and then let's just hit some wineries, right? Well, as the kids got older, it sometimes would evolve, and it was like we'd hit 2 wineries, but we were like, dude, we can't drink this much. Like, this is a lot to drink. So they've evolved in the years. Well, now the kids are grown. The kids can drink themselves, and the kids are like, okay, why are we stopping this tradition just as we now are able to drink? We want to do this. And so we were like, okay, well, let's do it this year. And also, by the way, I'll just add, last year we got a fake tree, and we were like one of the 2 last standing people that still needed to go get a tree. So we said, okay, well, we don't need to go get a tree. Plus, trees are horribly expensive here in Oregon. I mean, we used to get our limit was like $25. And then like a few years ago, it went to 35. So it was always about finding the right tree, kind of tree, and inexpensive, right? So long story short, with COVID, we needed to make reservations. So I got on, and the place that we have literally gone ever since we can remember, we don't ever remember not going there, is called August Cellars. And they have a smattering of different small winemakers wine. And I called, and they called me back, and they're like, you don't need reservations. Of course, we remember you guys, because we haven't been there for a couple of years because we had deaths in the family and COVID was last year and all that. They're like, oh my gosh, we're so glad you're coming back. And we had 11 people. Bring them all. Yes, absolutely. Yes, you can bring in food, because we figured out you got to eat along the way. So we bring in our own food. And then the second place I had made reservations, the max you could make was 6. And with those 11 people, I just want to explain to you, we've got 3 drivers to drive everybody. So they're not drinking. And if they are, they're just like, take a little tiny sip, but they're not tasting. We have one with dementia. He's 78 or 80 years old. And so now we're 7. And then by the 3rd stop, my son also has left. So that will become important. The next place we show up, and all 11 came. So in the past, the group gets smaller because people peel off, or they're like, okay, I'm leaving for the day. It's been a long day, whatever. Right. And one of the couples was my friend's parents. He has dementia. Like I said, he's like 80, mom's 70 something. Right. And it's a long day for her. She's wheeling him in and out with the wheelchair. I mean, like, it's a long day. So I kind of figured they'd peel off. So anyways, the second place we go, it was a reservation for 6, because that's all we could get. And I knew that by then we'd probably only have 6 drinking. So we did. We had 6 drinking, or tasting, I should say. And they said they'd give us this back room. And we're like, great, we're so thrilled, And so we show up, and we've got 11. I'm like, I'm sorry, we do have more people. But there's only 6 of us tasting. They're like, that's fine, come in, welcomed us with open arms. Now, the 3rd place, when I went on to reserve, it said that you needed to make a reservation for your whole party, including those that were not tasting. So yes, I did know this. The max I could make was 5. I actually said to my husband at the time, I said, should I make a second reservation for the others? And he goes, well, by then I'm not sure everyone will still be there. Like, we didn't want to make reservations and then take him away from somebody else. And he goes, 5 honestly is probably all we're going to have. And certainly it's the only tasters. So I, in my mind, thought, well, maybe I'll make another reservation for like 2 more, because we'll maybe lose a couple, 4 people, whatever. Well, I completely forgot because it was Christmas time, whatever. And we went to the first 2 stops and I called each place saying, hey, we're coming, we're really excited. After we went to the first place, I called the second place. I said, we're on our way. We had a great time the first 2 places. And I've got my mother, by the way, I've got my 74-year-old mother, and I'm driving the van, the RV van, right? And I've just got a lot going on. Like and I was the designated driver. So I get my mom in the van, we get going, and I completely spaced calling them. And we're singing Christmas songs. We're doing the whole thing.
And you're just calling him
just to say, hey, we're coming. I would have updated them. Hey, we've got more people, whatever. My son had peeled off. He's the only one that had left. We were having such a great day. We get to the next stop and I've got the dog with me. So I pottied her, put her back in the van. Well, now pretty much most of our party has went in before me. So I get in there and unbeknownst to me, there's one guy and a couple girls, and they had already asked, if we had reservations, and we said yes. And the gentleman had not been so kind. He had been making faces at them in their responses that we had 11 people. And so when I got it there, they were like, okay, so you're 11. And I was like, yeah, sorry. I thought more people would peel off. Usually we don't have this many, but is it okay? And the 2 girls were like, oh my gosh, it's totally fine. Let us go out and we'll rearrange the tables. We've only got 2 other tastings out there because it's outside, like on their patio. You're fine. Just let us take care of it. Well, the man though, and I'm seeing his face, and he goes like this and walks outside and helps them. And I'm like, okay, well, that was kind of odd. So they come back in after doing whatever they're going to do at the table. And the gal says, hey, Melissa, can you come here? Now, I should also note that when I went on, this was the only place. First of all, every other place was $10 a taste, $10 to $15 a tasting. And if you bought 2 bottles of wine, it was a free tasting. This place, however, was $30 a tasting. And there was no there was no comment that I saw that if you buy a certain amount of bottles, your fee is waived. So I was like, and I even said to the party, hey, are we sure we want to go here? Like, they seem kind of expensive. They gave me a full invoice, like short of putting my credit card number in. They gave you a full invoice when you made the reservation. And everybody's like, oh, we want to taste their wine. That's fine, whatever. So she calls me up and I go up there and she goes, okay, so you guys fall into our large party reservation, and we have large party rules. And the rule is that you need to buy 6 bottles of wine. And I said, oh, okay. Does that waive some of our tasting fees, or do we still have to pay? Because we had 5 tasters at this point. And I'm starting to say, or do we still have to pay the $30 per person times 5, which would be $150 plus 6 bottles? And this gentleman who had already rolled his eyes and I saw that, butts in to our conversation. She was very nice and she's trying to be delicate. And I'm like, yeah, let's just talk about this. Butts in. And he says, well, we assume you're here to buy wine, aren't you? I mean, that's why you're here. And Leslie, oh, the right fighter in me. My husband tells me sometimes just to shut my mouth. And so I did. I literally stared at him. I paused, an awkward pause, which is hard for me, and I just turned away, walked away back to my group. They heard the whole thing. And they were like, what? And I was like, well, here's the deal. Because they didn't hear her part. And they go, well, so do we have to pay buy the 6 bottles on top of the wine tasting fee? And I said, I don't know. She didn't get a chance to answer. And you heard his response. And they were like, well, he's kind of rude. And I'm like, yeah, he's very rude. And they were like, well, I said, what do we want to do? Do we want to stay? Do we want to go? What do we want to do? And so finally, the girls and I, who are willing to make a decision, said, you know what? No, we're not going to stay here. So just then or someone comes up to seat us. I don't exactly remember. Oh, it was him. And I said, well, actually, we're not going to stay because we didn't like how you just treated us. And so we're going to go. And he started to interrupt me, Leslie. And I thought, oh, you do not know who you're dealing with. And I said, actually, no, you got to talk. I let you talk. Now I'm going to talk. And I said, you interrupted when I was trying to find out what the deal was. And we don't like how we've been treated this entire time by you. I said, so we're going to leave. And I'm sure since it's 3:30 in the afternoon and you guys close at 5, I'm sure you're going to have a really big rush on bottles of wine that you can sell. So have a nice day. Yeah. And I turn out to walk out. Well, apparently, he starts yelling, you're rude, you're make a reservation. Yes, he is yelling, don't make a reservation for 5 and then come up with 11 and expect blah, blah, blah. And I turned tail and walked. Well, he apparently comes chasing me, Leslie. He's like coming towards the door. So my husband, who's not confrontational, comes and stands in front of him to block him from chasing me out and yelling at me. And my friend, who went to the ghost thing, she is like standing behind Eric. She's 5'2", Eric's 6'2", and she's like yelling at him, no, you're whatever. But he's yelling and screaming at us. And I just turned tail and walked. I didn't say anything more. I thought, you know what? I already did get a little snarky with him.
Is he just a manager?
Thank you. I don't know at this point.
He actually should be thankful you brought him extra business unless they were overwhelmed with business already.
Thank you. And that's what I said to him.
Crowded that they couldn't fit you in. But if it's slow and they're not doing anything.
Yes. Thank you. Leslie, guess what? And I told him this in my rant. We had already bought 11 bottles of wine that day. 11. So it was just irritating to us that he was so rude.
It was $30 a person and you have 7 people. Is it 7?
Well, we had 11.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, I went on mute. We had 11 people and we had 5 tasters that were going to actually taste flights of wine. Because of the rest of the drivers or whatever. And then we probably were going to buy
that money or nothing. And now he has nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. And that's what I said to him. I'm like, well, so I'm sure you're going to have a rush and you're going to sell all those bottles of wine. And by the way, we're going to take, well, no, I did not get his name. But I think he is so I looked up the winery. It's 2 words, starts with it. The first word starts with an L. The second word is an R, and they're in Carlton, Oregon.
Are you just not going to say, or you don't know?
I'm not going to say their name. Oh no, I know the name. I'm just not going to say it so people can figure it out on their own. They can be Salus.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, so I looked it up. It's supposedly a woman-ran, woman-owned family business. So I think that he is the husband of one, like he's married into the family. He's a husband of one of the wives that is part of it, or the daughter or whatever is what I think. But the girls there, the girl that was trying to help me, like she was being so nice. And, you could tell that she kind of felt awkward. And I was like, look, don't feel awkward. Just give me the facts. Cause, I understand that I fully know I screwed up. I brought too many people. I know your max reservation that I could make was 5. I forgot to call. I get it. Like we brought way more people. I would have.
What's the city?
Carlton. And I would have told her all that. Like, it's okay. Just tell me the facts. Like, are the 6 bottles in lieu of, let's see, 3 of the wine tastings? So like if we had 5 tasters, we bought 6 bottles, that would at most places null and void 3 of the tastings. Sometimes it's 1 bottle of wine. So I don't even know. I never found out. I honestly never found out.
An L and an R?
Yeah, it's 2 words. First name is an L, second name is an R.
I'm with looking it up now.
I know you are. Yeah. So that happened. And I was spitting mad. I just couldn't believe it. So it kind of put a damper. That was our last stop, and it kind of was a bummer. And so kind of bummed us all out. But we were like, well, at least we had a good, a good 2 stops before that. And
it just takes one person to kind of ruin it all, though.
It does. And I
feel
fully
about like sometimes like, and I probably said this one time, and I probably shouldn't have, but I was like, it only takes one customer to ruin your day.
Oh yeah, it's true.
And you're kind of that person, like,
yeah,
you just ruin it all.
Yeah. And I fully, like made cringy faces when she was like, okay, you have 11. I'm like, yeah, sorry. Like I knew I had screwed up. Like that is for sure. And had they said, we really like to have a reservation, I would have said, I am so sorry. But the deal is what I felt disrespected is that he wouldn't have probably talked to a man like that. He interrupted his staff or some staff in there who was trying to explain the rules to me. He interrupted me. And I was like, oh, hell no. Now you've really pissed me off. Like, I'm not going down that way.
Super unprofessional.
Super. And the fact that he chased me out. And then my friend, who's very feisty, and I love her for it, she put up a review and he said that we were yelling and being vulgar. And I'm like, oh no, man. We just turned around and left, and you started following us and yelling at us. And everybody was outside on the patio. So of course, when we opened up the door and he's yelling, oh, hell yeah, it got loud. I'm sure those people could kind of hear after that. But so yeah, that happened. And I really wanted to tell you in December, and I'm still mad about it, but I've sort of cooled down. And, I did leave him a review, and I said, look, I fully admit that I did some things wrong here. Oh, this is the other thing that I found out. So after we left, I found out later that when the gentleman who has dementia, the dad, and the son-in-law was wheeling him in the wheelchair, they were the first ones in. And this particular guy looked at them and goes, do you have a reservation? And looked them up and down like they were some sort of trash. And I was like, you're kidding me, right?
Who is this person?
Seriously. So yeah, that kind of got me riled up in December. And I was like you. I was like, oh no, you aren't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like people like that.
No.
Why are people crappy?
I don't know. I mean, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And, I was going to let him know that he wasn't being polite, but I wasn't going to like go off on him until he interrupted me again. And I was like, you know what? I don't like that. Like, let me speak.
Yeah.
Just like I let you speak. So anywho, that's my story today.
Well, I'm so sorry. Next up on our show, we have Suzanne Jauchius. She is a professional intuitive consultant, psychic radio personality, author, and speaker here locally in Portland, Oregon. She is an amazing person. We like to call her our friend. She is on our show quarterly and starting in January. And if you like what she has to say, I encourage you to reach out to us to be put on the list for the next quarter, which I believe is in the first Monday in April, and we will be taking your calls. She is free for this 1 or 2 questions. However, if you would like to reach her for a full reading, you can do that by emailing her at appointments@suzannejauchius.com, or you can call her at 503-655-2631, or you can go to her website, and there's a little form that you can fill out, and then she can call you back. But her website is suzannejauchius.com. And a lot of her clients come to her for questions about her career or about relationships. And she just gives them a little bit of clarity where she can see in ways that other people can't. And she can help give them encouragement and validation. And we are so happy that she is with us today. I had a little audio mishap. So unfortunately, it doesn't sound great, and I didn't get the full recording. However, we do have some of it, and I hope that you enjoy what you hear. Please follow, like, and share our channel, as we just do this for fun and entertainment. But if we don't get any feedback from anybody, we don't know if anyone's listening. So thank you so much for listening this far. Thank you. What was the question you asked, Suzanne?
Oh, you mean about, sorry, Annie. If has the Huntington's like me?
Yeah. And what did she tell you?
She said most likely not.
Yeah.
Sorry, Annie. Yeah, she said he was really good athletically, and people come to him, and I'm so happy that hopefully he does not have it.
Yeah.
But
She said he was kind of a healer. Like,
yeah,
come to him
healer.
to ask questions, and it's probably nice to hear, since you don't get to see him very often, or maybe
Yeah.
talk
I
to
think
him.
she said that too, Annie. I think
She did. I
think
wonder
she
how
said
she knew that. Yeah.
we don't get her talk very often.
Yeah.
But that sucks, Honey.
Thank you, Suzanne, for your time. I've really. So my question, there's a group of a growing community of people who are interested in exploring their identity and what pronoun they're going to call themselves, or if they're going to change their name or their sexual identity. And my 14-year-old daughter is becoming attracted to exploring these same questions. So my question is, what do you have any information as far as what might be going through her head?
That's a very personal question. To begin with, what is your birthday? Okay, and what is her first name and birthday?
Her name is...
And she is
14.
14, okay. 14-year-olds today. So, I gotta tell you, I really like her exploration. I like her. It's almost like she's on a fact-finding mission. She also makes really good decisions. She's not afraid to say, "Oops, I was wrong." She gets her mindset on something, but then she's also okay to change her mind. So the big thing around her is her ability to really look into things. She'd be a great investigator, researcher, anything where she's getting to the bottom of something. I do see a lot of anxiety in her right now, but I think everybody has that. So, I'm not able to say the results of her exploration, but I do see her pretty grounded. She just doesn't feel flaky to me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
You can trust her. Now that that all adds up to your ability or your confidence in trusting her. But I also like that she, if she goes down a path that doesn't work for her, she's like, this doesn't work, and she's willing to shift gears. So again, that all the more reason to feel confident with her decisions. And that's about as good as I can do with that. Okay.
It's reassuring, because that's very much how her personality has been.
Yeah. Does she have any desire to either be a teacher or a psychologist someday?
At this point, she's leaning towards designer architect, but those things change as you grow.
Oh, absolutely, at 14 especially. But she's got a good teaching skills, and what shows up alongside that is health and wellness. And typically when I see those two together, it becomes a psychologist, teaching people to listen to themselves and take better care of themselves and that sort of thing. So that combination does show up around her. designer. She gets bored easy. So she does need something that kind of keeps her mind going. And so anything that's going to be the same thing every day isn't going to work for her.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Do you have a question? Another question?
That was the one I brought today.
Awesome.
So Shelby, I know she gets a lot of things in dreams that come to her that are almost like deja vu, things that she'll have a dream and then it happens. Do you have any suggestions for her on how to build on that if that's what she chooses to do?
Well, I always suggest a dream journal. I took a class years and years ago from a Jungian therapist here in town, and it was about, Carl Jung's dream interpretation. And it was really insightful. But one of the things he said is, to not write down our dreams is like getting a letter from God and not opening it. So please do keep a dream journal, because what happens when we're journaling, we're actually journaling a dream, is other thoughts come as we're journaling, and that's the meat of it. The other stuff that comes as we're journaling. So you might say, I dreamt I was walking on a path through the forest, and then aside, it reminded me of a path I walked with my father once. Those kinds of things are the sort of the meat of it. So it's really important to, when you dream journal, to include not just the dream, but all your thoughts that go along with it. It's good stuff. And then over a period of time, of course, you can read back over your journal. That's always good. And it's so wonderful. It's also a way to develop your own intuition on day consciousness rather than sleep.
Do you feel the more that you do that, the more like waking hours you might be able to start seeing some of those signs?
Within hours?
No, the waking hours, the times that you're awake. Do you think that helps with that veil when you're okay?
And as Carl Jung said, we can interpret a leaf that falls in our path. Everything has an interpretation for us. Some people get carried away with that. But everything is, if we're paying attention, everything is readable and important. So, of course, we all get busy in our lives and we don't sit around analyzing everything. But we know when something's big, it's like, ooh, that was a big dream. I really need to write that one down. Or that was the big thought. I need to write it down. Because if you don't write them down, a lot of times by noon, you've forgotten it.
Right. And within minutes of waking up, like all of a sudden, if you switch your mind to focus on just one thing for a moment, and then you try and go back, like my dreams will just start disappearing, and I'm trying, like almost like reaching towards them, trying to pull them in like a rope.
Right. You gotta make notes. If nothing else, make notes, put down a few key words when you first get up so that you can go back into it, because those key words will, that's what the dream is about, and then you can go back into it. But I always say, Spirit speaks to us in pictures, and actually that's how I do readings, is I see pictures. And so, but they're very gossamer, like you said, by noon they're dissolved. And so you've got to, that's why it's important to journal.
And she was telling me about this one dream she had, and she says it wasn't when she was fully asleep, but not quite awake yet.
Right.
It was that, yeah. So I'm like, ooh, that's something. She needs to, that's a good time. Yeah.
Well, there's also, there were years and years ago, many hundreds of years ago, some that were inventors. I think Galileo might have been one, who wouldn't, he knew the importance of that time between waking and sleep. And so he would actually sit with, what do you call it, like a steel ball in his hands. And as he started drifting off, as soon as he fell asleep, his hand would release the steel ball and fall on the floor and wake him up. And then he could recount what he had just dreamt or vision he had. So it's a really powerful time to wake and sleep.
Should we tell everyone we want them to stay curious,
Stay curious.
stay suspicious,
Suspicious.
stay open?
Open. Open.
All
Thanks
right,
for
girlfriend.
joining us today.
We'll see you on Friday.
What's Friday?
Friday is our next recording.
Oh, yeah. Oh.